meeting to order at 6:15, April 4th, 2023. Call the meeting to order. Approval of the minutes. There are the minutes to the 1st of March, which was our last meeting, are attached. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Sean, Counselor George, and second by Counselor Wood. Any discussion on the minutes?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We need to do roll call today. This public comment, I know we have a guest here tonight, but I don't know if he has any public comments or just wanted to watch our meeting, but if you have any comments, we're certainly willing to express.
None at this
them.
point.
Okay. So the only thing we have is nothing was really referred to us at the last meeting, but I do think there's a couple of things tonight the council meeting is going to be referred to us, is the ongoing review of the funds. Now, I didn't bring the packet that I was looking at, but the funds review, the funds that we got attached and the breakout of some of the expenses, I do not think there is anything that was done anything that was done that we didn't need to do. I don't think there was any money appropriated that we didn't need to appropriate. I think that the funds are working the way they're supposed to work. The question is I do think that there should be a little bit more put into capital, straight capital. I also think that we need to start thinking about whether we want to create a highway improvement capital fund separately. I understand, I think at the town manager's state of the town address, he mentioned that he's going to be putting something forward to the town about roads. And what I think he's meaning is a debt exclusion. Now, I don't know, I do know that that's what he was saying at the state of the town address. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I heard. So is it fair to say that we really, in my opinion, we should not be throwing that bill totally on the taxpayer? Because we have reserves.
Yeah.
So first of all, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think that the actual underlying capital fund, I think we should reduce that amount and maybe earmark some of that towards some of the other funds. Secondly, I think we need to look at creating a highway improvement fund, a WIF, or HIF, H-I-F, Highway Improvement Fund. Because first of all, there's a ton of federal money out there, there's a ton of state money. Plus we get chapter 90 monies. So we need to get all our dancing partners together and then say, okay, we got 2 million from the state, we got 3 million from the federal government. We have chapter 90 monies this fiscal year. So we have a total pot of $5 million. Okay. Then you say, okay, what can we use from capital? Can we use anything from capital? Okay, throw in a couple million. Now it's going to throw off our 10% that we've worked with these on the Jubin years to keep it. That's my feeling is then say to the taxpayers, well, we got $7 million, but the projects or roads I want to really focus on are $12 million.
Yeah. So
maybe we ask the voters for $4 million or whatever, instead of going to them and saying, well, let's ask them for 15 million. I don't know what your thought is about that. Do you see that coming? Did you get that out of the state of the town address? I did.
yeah, I've heard that before, right? So a couple different thoughts. One is we kind of decided on the general stabilization to cap it at 10% of the budget. So,
Right.
So for the general stabilization, which has nothing, that should be all operational, not capital. And we kind of set a policy watermark for that. And so we say each year, well, the target is to keep it at 10%, but not go to 12%, not let it drop to 9%, unless there's a need during the year. But the other ones, we really didn't do that. And I think that's, Dennis, where you're kind of leading to, which is in some of those buckets, there may be a reasonable cap where you want to just push it to and then hold it and then make adjustments in the other 5 or 6. And I don't think there's one specifically for highway yet, but it'd be interesting to say, okay, create this new one, then go back to the free cash policy and adjust that to say with caveats, well, if fund XYZ is already at this level, then push that over into the general capitalization fund or push that over into the highway capitalization fund. And manage it that way. I haven't looked recently at the allocation portions, because I know at one point I brought this to Michael and Tony's attention. We had, I think, 5 buckets, and there were certain percentages assigned to each bucket, and finance wasn't strictly following those percentages. And so I think they've made some adjustments, but you know, you could put a cap on it and then say, you know, excess goes into this general capital fund that's not specific or highway. Highway's gonna cost. I think Michael at one point was talking $44 million if you wanted to do everything that you. Yeah.
In the 50s.
Right, I mean, I know there are some roads in town that need it more than others, and, you know, if you just throw a $15 million debt exclusion at people and say, this money's gonna help improve our roads, fine, sounds good. But what about my road? That's what people are gonna say, what about my road? My road's not on here. So 5 years later, the 15 million's been spent, my road still looks like this. So I think that's gonna be the hard sell. I think they wanna see, okay, no matter what you do, you're not gonna be able to do it all.
Right.
And, you know, is Oak Street priority number 1? Is South Street priority number 2? I think people are gonna wanna see who's gonna get that
Yeah.
money, what street is gonna get them. I don't think you'll put that in there, just like,
Right.
and that's gonna be a hard sell.
And the other thing is, and let's pick on Oak Street,
Right.
because there's really 3 different projects there. There's a project to do the bridge, which is independent of the road. But you want to think of those 2 things unified, right? And then there's the road, because if you go up and down, I went up and down Oak Street today, it was awful. And then there's the concept that we've been trying to do around town, which is to put a sidewalk in when you do major road work. You know, and maybe stormwater drainage and all the other stuff that goes with it. So that alone could consume millions of dollars. But I also wonder, I don't think it's possible, but I'll throw it out there because I was thinking about this last week. You know what First Street is, right?
Mhm.
So the property owners on First Street all collectively bonded and had First Street done, but the town took care of it. And then they're paying an assessment on the bond in the taxes. And I'm not sure exactly how the financing works. But the property owners on First Street paid for the improvements on First Street. I don't know of any specific streets that could be applied to, but in concept, if you had a street that had like 4 homeowners and you want to pave it, you could get all 4 to take a quarter share and, you know, do the pavement and do it through the town. I don't, it's a long shot.
That's a tough one, because people, what am I paying my taxes? What am I paying my taxes for? Now you want me to
Yeah.
be like a condo association,
Yeah.
you know?
Are you gonna benefit that way? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're not building any more roads in the town. We're building roads off of roads for people to live
Yeah.
at. So we're not building South Streets or Plymouth Streets or Oak Street or
I'm
Summer
still
Street.
surprised
or
every
High
time it's
Street.
like, where'd that road come from?
Yeah, there's more people around the roads we use because they're building houses off of them.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, I think they pay for their own lights now, right? Street lights now are underground and some of these new ones, not that street lights are underground, makes no sense. They're doing something with the lights on those streets where they're just tying them to like a light pole in the yard, not having no overhead light. Things like that, but I don't know. I just think that, you know, do we want to pursue creating a highway capital fund
well,
outside?
but that's not what we're discussing here. This is to review. So it's gonna task budget and finance, it's gonna be budget and the finance committee, not financial committee, but that's okay. I mean, I think you're kind of putting the cart before the horse. They gotta go into each fund, take a look at the funding, You know, to Bill's earlier point, you know, where do we see the funding in those? And then the second part is what are we gonna look at 5 years down the road? Are some of those funds just gonna stay as is? Is some gonna increase? Is some gonna decrease? I know what you're saying on you're earmarking things for major repairs, but this is kind of, to me, an open slate.
Sure, and, you know, you look at the capital plan, and it goes out to 25 to 2025 to 2029. And then you look at what has been spent in some of these, which we got the breakdown, and I didn't grab the folder.
I got it.
But, I don't see any like minimum requirement for capital expenditure. Like there are some, I think if something is under 20 grand, it should be built in the department budget and not thrown into under capital. That there's
Well, we've
gotta-
always had that long discussion
you know, it's
because
like, there's too many things that are now, you know,
Tim's very first question when I very first ran for council was if the fire department is gonna buy a hose, does that come out of operation or capital?
there's, I mean, capital is, you know, I look at it as a bigger expenditure, maybe 25 grand or more. A smaller expenditure, unless it's combined with something.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna buy a new fire truck, you're not gonna have the expense budget of the fire department equip it. That should be part of the capital expense of buying a new fire truck. is
Yeah.
Putting all the hose, if a hose needs to be replaced and it's $15,000 and you put that in then I think it actually go in a budget as an example. In some other things. So I think now if you really take a look at some of the things that are in the capital budget, and you take the smaller items and throw them in the towns, the appropriate department budget, the budgets are going up, you know, I mean, it's, the salaries are one thing. Other post-employment, the OPEB trust, I mean, that's been doing very well. We're pretty consistent in putting money in there, so I wouldn't touch that. That one's pretty good.
The other thing, when the review goes, is to look at that bucket for the school. Because I don't know how high that is right now, but it's probably still underfunded.
But they don't have a
compared-
they don't have a separate
They do.
capital fund. It's
They do.
just,
No, they do.
it's separate. There's a balance in that.
There is, and you have to look at their capital requests also, because if eventually the middle school is gonna need, you know, when we looked at that a couple of years ago, it was like $9 million worth of requests
The
potentially.
old high school. I'll always say, I still think of the Williams as the middle school.
You know, so there again, what is the right number for that particular bucket? Because, you know,
Yeah.
because I don't think there's $9 million in there right now. There's
No,
all these other schools.
I mean, the
No.
parking lot's an issue, and I know
Yeah.
inside, it's a pretty solid building. It's
It
pretty
is,
solid.
it is.
But that also comes to what is their priorities. They list their priorities on how much each priority costs. That's gonna dictate is the capital fund under, over, or just right.
Right.
That, you know, that's their call, not ours.
Yeah. I've always liked Tim's model of funding it by percentage or sort of what, so you weren't tied into, oh, are we gonna do a dog park this year or plumbing over at the old high school or something like that? And that you had the percentages that seemed right, you know, best fit.
Yeah, but then something can get accelerated and then
Yeah.
you're kind of behind. If it's a higher item and it gets accelerated, then you're kind of behind if you're doing
Right.
percentages.
Right.
I just look at it as, they should tell us, I'm probably agreeing with you in a way, next 5 years, their capital spend projected is gonna be $4 million. You know, so you do the simple math over a 5-year period, what do we have to allocate in order to meet that $4 million?
Yeah, and the employee liability account, you know, I shake my head sometimes, because I thought this would be pretty much watered down by now. As Michael said a couple of months ago, there's still a lot of contracts out there where we have to pay off this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
He goes, it's gonna take.
Sick time buyback, still,
5 or
still,
6.
sick time buyback, still a big deal.
That eats a lot of, and that
Mhm.
used to be built in to a budget. So it's come out and it's put on the
Yeah.
backs of this free cash policy. But they fill the positions
Well,
quickly because they usually hang the salary.
Yeah, but I don't know if you remember that discussion or if you were part of that discussion. What was happening several years ago when a senior person retired and they suddenly had a $200,000 buyback, it was coming out of operations and there was no way to support that. And
Well,
so,
it's coming out of their budget. It should have come out of their budget until
Right, but
it was satisfied, and then you rebuild.
but it was an expense
Sure.
in the current year that had been budgeted for a certain number of staffing and expenses. And so suddenly you have this 100,000 or whatever it is as an expense line item. So at the end of the year, you're overrunning the fire department, police
I mean,
department.
it's good that we
whatever.
have it. I just thought
Yeah.
we'd get that more under control
Yeah,
within the next year or two. I go right now, it's
I think Tony can calculate all
it's
those.
6 to 7
I think
years out.
he has,
Newer contracts should not be.
I think he has a number for everybody that has potential buybacks. and whatnot.
No, I think
Newer
buybacks went away
Well, your vacation time,
12
you've got
years ago. I'm talking sick time. They were banking the sick time. It was 12 years ago, right?
but there's still a lot of people out there who do that.
No, I agree, but we're not accumulating more.
Right. I just thought it
Right,
would
right,
be more
right.
weaned off by now, but it's not.
No, it's probably,
Vacation, you gotta pay people their vacation if they leave,
yeah, I'm not that,
but
there were probably a lot of young people 12 years ago that got in under the old contract. So I would vote to recommend
recommend what?
the resolution. This is what we're talking about, right?
Right, but what are we recommending?
That the council implements it.
Well, we're gonna do the review.
Right, but doesn't the council have to approve it and then we start the review? I don't think we can do it on our own.
I thought we were doing. I thought it was.
I agree with your procedural approach.
Yeah.
We have to have an approval by the council to do a review.
So
Right,
we
because the
see-
budget and finance is also doing it
So we
too.
Yeah.
see enough, we have enough, not concerns, but we have enough thoughts, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not so much concerns.
To
we
make
have
it a
enough-
formal.
To make it a
review.
formal request that,
Yeah.
yes, we do need to take a review. So,
Yeah.
all right. So there's a motion by Sean, seconded by Bill to recommend to the council to have a full.
To adopt the resolution.
Adopt the resolution, have a funds review through the finance committee and the budget.
Yeah.
finance
Yeah,
committee.
take 2 minutes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3-0. And you won't be here to enjoy that. One meeting,
Well,
unless you're doing a
So-
write-in now, like, let me check my email, see if you're doing a write-in.
you'll never know if I'm doing the right.
Before we get into this, we're gonna adjourn the meeting. So thank you for that vote. Public comment, is there anyone here now that
You
wishes
can
to
still
have?
put comment on as a
We
public.
have it twice, and then we have it at the council meeting twice too.
Just, can you elaborate on the 6-time buyback? What does that mean?
6 times.
Oh, sick.
Sick time, sick.
Six
Oh,
times.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Understood.
no, that's okay. Yeah, no, I mumble sometimes.
No worries.
No, back in the day, town employees could bank their sick time and then when they
Understood.
retired, they got bought out.
Any current plans with the middle school right now? The old high school is
It's still, I don't know what grades are in there, but there's
Oh,
7 and 8.
7th and 8th grade are in there.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think the school's going away.
We have to be careful what we talk about.
Done.
Well, that's right, we're not supposed to engage.
The ti- I know to you, the town attorney will be ripping into us.
But it's
That's
capital.
it from the public.
The only thing they need is capital issues
Okay.
to keep it going another 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments?
No, thank you,
Thank you for coming.
thank you.
I apologize.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn at 6:34. All those in favor? Well,
All right,
Aye.
we got to vote on it.
Yeah.
no
Can't go on
question.
assumption.
Okay, we
Thank
are
you all.
adjourned at 6:34.
You coming
So
coming to our meeting too?
I don't think so.
Okay,
That's enough, right?
Thank you.
So I have.
watch it on TV. Excited.
I will.
Did she